The Power brought the pressure and won in Geelong for the first time since 2007, while the Hawks took down a disappointing St Kilda outfit in Launceston. Injuries are beginning to mount as the Magpies' form continues to go forth, and before the Tassie team has even entered the comp, there's talks of a 20th team up north. The fixture dropped with no more Thursday games. The Bombers' form continues to entertain, and the Lions debuted a bloke called Shadow Brain to dissect round 9 and look towards Sir Doug Nicholls' round. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub with David King's sidekick Lee Montagna.
Oh, thank you, Rabsy. I am disappointed there is no more Thursday night footy. I think it's been a big hit, but unfortunately, no more.
Dane Swan's protege, Dale Thomas.
I'm also in the same camp, Joey, because that means I don't have any work.
That's right.
And a man who needs no accomplices or cronies, Damien Barrett.
With a few enemies, though. How are you, boys? Speaking of enemies, though, the opposite to enemy's best mate, isn't it, Days? And I've just noticed our man over here, Joey, little spring in the step,
happy,
bounce
isn't he?
in the voice. Rui's in town.
Rui's back. Yes, it's nice to little surprise visit. He's just doing a hit-run mission, so down for 5 days. He saw his mum on Mother's Day, and then he's in Tassie at the moment. I'm not sure what he's doing down in Tassie. Bit of business, apparently.
Did you draw that out of him yesterday on the podcast?
Didn't get a lot. We tried to get a little bit, so I'm not sure what he's doing there. But we were caught up for dinner on Monday night. Good to get a few of the Saints boys together. Bally was there, and Mickey Gardner, and Cozzy and BJ, and a few. So that was nice to catch up. And
that is a large, broad Gardy and BJ.
Yeah, on there. That's exactly.
I like
we
that.
try and balance it out.
Yeah, nice.
There's sort of no rat packets in Kilda. We just mix and match a little bit with a few nerds.
Didn't waste much time, Rui. He's already posted a video of him at the gym doing some lifts and all that sort of stuff.
He loves all that. So into a nice Japanese restaurant in Brighton, and then as we're walking out, Clarko was there with all his family and said g'day to Clarko. And
Hang on. So Rui, Tasmania, Clarko, dinner.
Ooh.
Coincidence.
I've got a theory on the people who are telling us that the Tassie thing's a good idea. They need to live in Tassie if they want to go and work for the club.
Yep.
I'm big on that.
So
would
if
you
you
be prepared
say-
to live there?
Well, Rui, he does love Tassie.
Yeah, they
He's
all
down
love
there
it,
at the
but they don't
moment,
live
there. No, Hobart is actually would be okay to live.
I love Tassie, but I'm not connected to it. And everyone who tells me
I
you need a
al-
license there is not living there.
I
Yeah,
also
it's true.
love Tassie, and I wouldn't live there. No, that's just plain facts.
So you are sceptical, but you're sceptical it'll work. The Tassie team.
Yes, I've got doubts
It's a
about
footy
it.
state. At least it's a footy.
It's a footy state.
I'd rather play in Hobart than the Gold Coast. Gold Coast, you'd be playing and you have to go to page 15 to find like one article about the game. At least Tassie, it'll be front page, back page. Everyone will be right into it. It's a real footy
Look,
state.
again, I didn't know we were going to go in this path, but it does go against what they did with Gold Coast and GWS in terms of taking the game into the expansion markets. It was already a cornered market, so there's that aspect. And I don't want to be too negative about it, but I do wonder what the 18 and 19-year-old is going to be doing Monday through Friday, given that people get bored in big cities at this point in time.
Geelong do all right. Geelong do okay.
Yeah, but
It's not a
Geelong,
massive
yeah.
town. I mean, I know you can come to Melbourne and do all those things, but you can.
No, but I mean, there's a sense of privilege with the draftees now. And we're getting
okay.
right off what we're going to talk
Yeah,
about.
no,
But you know what I'm relating to
yes,
there, don't
you're
you?
right, yeah.
There's a sense of privilege for a draftee, given the upbringing most of them have had through the private schools. And then they have this expectation of life and expectation to stay in the state they're in. So anyway, we didn't plan to go down that path, did we? But
No,
we
that's
have.
You've done a very good job of deflecting from your mate Rui.
That's what you've done.
There was nothing that exciting about it.
Has
It was
he
nice
been
to
to
see.
Cobram Estate? We know that Damo was on the
He
junket.
did. Yes, he did.
He was the original.
Yeah, he went on the Monday. He went up on Monday. And then,
Did he?
then before we had the dinner,
Okay.
he took a few friends up there and Cozzy came back.
Did you go?
No, I didn't go. I couldn't. I think the kids.
hang on.
Were you asked?
I did get invited. I got.
Is this like Sidey not fitting me into his wedding?
I would have
mate.
loved to have gone. Monday's my day at home with the kids because I work all weekend, so I couldn't get it organised Monday. But that's fine. Caught up Monday night. What about you? You still staying off the 70-day no drink? How's that travelling?
It hit a bit of a speed hump.
Did it? I knew it would.
No, and just a really little one. I had the opening of a good mate of mine, Khan Ongs. He's doing a residency at Crown as a part of the MasterChef alumni. They're doing 3 weeks.
Was he a celebrity jungle man?
He was just recently on it. And I went along to go to the opening last night. And I had a beer. I only had one and then a non-alc, but I just thought, you know what? I've gone what did it get up to? 7 weeks and 3 days, so 45 days. I think that works out to be maybe more, 50 something. I don't know.
It's better than none days.
It's better than none, yeah. So I've broken it, and there was a
But
little.
if you broke it, why just have one? If you've broken it, you've broken it.
Well,
You might
no,
as
I've got
well
to work today, but I do have a golf trip Thursday, which might be the lead. Absolutely,
Responsibly, of course. Dave.
Absolutely not responsibly.
Well, you'll be missing the game up in Darwin, Gold Coast versus Geelong. We'll get your predictions for that a little bit later on in the midweek rub. All thanks to BWS. For whatever floats your boots, make sure you grab your drinks for this week's games at BWS. Your round 10 predictions and fair income or Fugazi still to come. But Damo, it is time for your news break, and concussion has once again reared its head in the AFL.
It has, Rabsy, and it stemmed off what Geelong did or didn't do with Jeremy Cameron in last round, and then the subsequent morning after diagnosis that he would be into the concussion protocols. The AFL looking into that and signing off on it. And then we get yesterday's news, sad news in a footy and sporting context, guys, with Aidan O'Driscoll at the Bulldogs, a recently drafted player unable to play a senior game of footy on the back of a very, very, very nasty concussion moment on the training track in January. His career is over before it even started, and you now have his football future being determined by a medical panel, an independent medical panel, adding his name to others who have been forced to retire, and there's a lot of them now. Nathan Murphy, the most recent, Angus Brayshaw prior to that. Players who can no longer play because of these matters.
The list is going to continue to grow as well.
Yeah.
It's just the world that we are fortunately, I say, living in, because it is. It's taken more seriously than it ever has, and for good reason. These people and the young players, whether it be in our game, any other contact sport, need to realise and are realising there's a lot of time to live once you're done with your professional sporting aspirations. 30, you get to 30 if you've had a really good career. 30 to 80 is a large portion of your life that you want to be living. You want to be enjoying day to day with your family, with your kids, and just in your own sense of well-being, happiness, mental mood stability. It's going to be ongoing and I think going to be happening more and more, as I think we probably all do, but it's becoming the right thing to do, and it's sort of losing that little bit of stigma, if you will, around it.
Yeah, it has. The O'Driscoll example, unfortunately, Joey, is now the scary one, isn't it? A guy who's
First
a
concussion.
teenager, first concussion, no history of it whatsoever, couldn't even get through the first pre-season of what he intended to be a 15-year career plus as an AFL footballer. So this one is I feel as alarming as any of the stories we've had in front of us in this space.
Yeah, it's a sad stories. We've got a guy that never even got the chance. But again, it's I'm with Daisy. It's the right thing. I mean, what's the alternative? He goes and plays tries to make an AFL career and has another couple of concussions, and then he's left in a state post-football that he would never want to be in. So unfortunate for him. It is sad, and we're thinking of him and the family. But we think it's the right call. He's got a long life to live.
We touched on Tassie before. Obviously, Brendan Gale, since we spoke on this program last week, went public with what we'd known for some time in the industry, that he would be the first CEO of the Tasmania Devils AFL licence to come in potentially as early as 2028. He's going to continue his now 15-year role as CEO of the Richmond Football Club. I argue regularly and have many, many, many times before this that he, more than any other person at Richmond, was central and crucial to what they were to establish as the great successful period they've got. I equally argue that this is not just Brendan Gale related, but the moment you have a job to go to, you have checked out of your current one. And I just feel that Richmond Footy Club right now is in a quite precarious state, with Adam Uze winning only one match of the 9 he's got to this point in time, with the captaincy of that footy club still with a question mark, having had Trent Cotchin and another great leader in Jack Revold resigning and retiring late last season. Peggy O'Neill, prior to John O'Rourke taking over, also moving out. And now Brendan Gale, clearly mind elsewhere in my mind, and checked out.
Yeah, I think that's a bit strong. I think you can be professional enough to still do your job that you're currently at, knowing you've got something to go to. Does that mean you're of the view that if a player now knows that he's going to go to another AFL club next year, that he shouldn't be playing for that team? Are you in that?
I've got a different view on the players.
Why is it different?
It's different because the players aren't making decisions about the club's future. Brendan Gale, and I'd argue too this, Joey. Again, it's easy if it's not Brendan Gale in front of us. This is the reason we're talking about it, though. And I am saying this about Brendan Gale. He will have the club at heart. I've got no doubt about that. He always has. And I'm convinced that whatever he does in the remaining time he's got at the club, it will still be on that basis. But what he's about to do with some player retention decisions, Liam Baker, Dusty Martin, two big names at Richmond whose futures are yet to be determined. He wants Dustin Martin to stay. Views like that and other matters, they may not align with the new person coming in. And then that new person, he or she, could be beholden and weighed down potentially by those decisions that don't fit in with that vision. I'm just trying all this up.
I agree with that. I think then you've got to find the line of what Brendan Gale can still work on and what things he probably does need to hand over to other people at the club. And probably things like that, deciding on players' futures or other staff at the club's futures. He probably should be looking for someone else to make that determination. But no, I think he can still be professional enough to do both. He's going to be a great get for Tassie. We know that. But no, I've got no real
One
issue
more
with it.
thing on it, 2 days.
Gil McLaughlin did it, didn't he? Gil was
Yeah,
always going to leave.
He changed his mind. He changed his mind and wanted to stay.
Right.
And that was the difference there.
Sellers regret.
It wasn't a real long transition. He sort of changed his mind.
Yeah, he did. Look, the decisions that have to be made are pretty crucial, aren't they? And,
They are.
And what I will say about this is when he does step in on January 1, 2025 into the new role, that club is going to get as many concessions as any new club has ever got. We know what happened to the competition when Gold Coast and then GWS came in consecutive years. This club will get, I'd argue, more than what they got because the AFL has to have this working from day one. He's about to go into a space where he's going to be actively fighting against Richmond's best interests, and he needs to be in that mind space because he's now on the hook for the success of that new club.
And that's probably the little bit of grey area we are dealing with right at the moment, isn't it? The fact that the decisions that he makes will then be played out whilst he is
Acting against Richmond.
Correct. But, in terms of what he can do for the new side coming in, I saw that clip come up on Instagram just the other day when he sat down and presented that plan that they wanted to be competitive within 5 years. They wanted to have a $75,000 membership.
It was fanciful when he said it all.
And he was almost laughed out. Gary and a couple other on the show were saying, mate, fair dinkum. That vision, that is priceless. And to go out and achieve it is absolutely brilliant. So you have to tip your cap to him. And no doubt, whatever's happening now, it's still in the best interest of the Richmond Footy
What
Club.
that did do, though, Damo, is it made every other club do these ridiculous, these
fanciful
visions.
I'll tell you what we're going to do.
None of them have ever worked. Carlton have had 5, St Kilda have had 5, other clubs have had them. They've never worked. Brendan Gale's been the only one to get it right.
So true. Ross Lyon on the weekend, he added the phrase neutered dog to the one he'd offered the previous week. Namby-pamby, we know about cobblers cobbling and re-stumping and rewiring. Just wanted to play what you discussed yesterday with your great mate Nick Revold, Joey, in response to some takes on what Ross had said post-match.
That was not an excuse-laden press conference. No, so to pull the grabs out, I think you need to listen to them in context. And I'm guilty of that as well. You hear the grab without actually doing the work to go back and listen to it in its entirety. That's on us as media people, and we're the ones selling the message to the public. So I think we need to be a little bit careful there. Ross has never been an excuse-driven coach, but I think the pressure at the moment on the Saints is absolutely justified. They've had some close losses, yes, but so far it's been a really disappointing season.
Days, Joey had his say on that yesterday. They're not quite performing the way they wanted to, coming off a finals performance last year.
They're not. I still am more flummoxed as the fact that they made finals last year. I went on record early on the year when I was doing my prediction that I thought if they won a handful of games, they were going to be relatively happy with that, with the list that they had, with the injuries they had at the start of the season. So I probably see it more as them levelling out to where they maybe should have been. And the expectation became greater because Ross was good enough to get them to a final last year where they were competitive. There's maybe a little bit of dip in that performance, but is it more a relative reflection of where they are at, more so than underachieving? And that's my take on it.
I agree with what you're saying there, but that doesn't then line up with what Andrew Bassett did to remove Brett Ratton.
Well, again, this becomes the issue
at the end of 2022.
And yes, this becomes the ongoing circle of, there's only so many sides that can be right up the pointy end, and there's only so many sides that can make the 8, and then the rest fall into the sort of the abyss of the non-competitive or sometimes competitive market. And for me, that's where the Saints land, purely on what they've got to deal with.
Again, though, we're taking like a president who doesn't know the football ins and outs. A bit like we spoke about Amit Baines last year, saying, these presidents and CEOs, they've got to be more optimistic, but they got Ross Lyon in, and very quickly Ross was able to say to the football, the hierarchy at the club, hey, this list isn't as good as you. This isn't going to be good enough list. We need to find some more. And Ross, and this is why I get sometimes frustrated with particularly in the media, taking small grabs. I mean, you can take that grab of Bassett of 2022, or you can play grabs of Ross Lyon all through last year, talking about this is a year of exploration. We need more talent. We need more depth. Ross banged on about that all year. But it's convenient to skip over the reality. It's a bit like with Luke Beveridge and the Dogs. Luke Beveridge has banged on that this team is regenerating, and he mentioned it again on AFL 360. But instead, we played clips of Amit Baines from the past saying it's a top 4 list to try and create a narrative that probably isn't fair and accurate. St Kilda are struggling. They're not playing as good as they would like. But they, I think, are pretty realistic in knowing where they're at.
Just synergy from the top down is so important because then there's no mixed messages.
Yeah,
in an industry where we like to pick and nitpick and look at somebody and a contrast and a conflict of what they've said, if it's all aligned, you go, okay, well, you give them an out. Yeah, we're not playing as good. Maybe we did overachieve last year. You can be honest in that approach, and everyone goes, fair enough.
Do they? Or if clubs are honest and say, we don't think we're really good enough to play finals just yet, then you get the opposite view is, this club, what standards are they setting? Are they reaching for high enough bar? And like, no matter what they say, it's going to get used and taken out of context in certain
But we do
ways.
have to be realistic of the fact that there's only so many sides that can fit into the 8, into the top 4. There'll be 4 sides that are clearly better than everyone else, and I think we're starting to see that already. There's then probably 2 or 3 extras, and the rest are just purely sitting in 7th through 18th.
The now age-old problem for Melbourne is the forward line. Petracca, after what he did in the last 3 quarters of that most recent game against Carlton in round 9, 5 goals after quarter time, single-handedly nearly got them over the line. Does it just now need to be something they start each game with? Forward line operations for him.
I'm in that camp. I'm in that camp. They've got enough midfield. Like Oliver, Viney, Sparrow needs more time. Cozzy Pickett should play a bit more up there like Shea Bolton and Rankin. Rivers has shown he can play in there. They've thrown Salem in there. I think there's enough.
Percentage-wise, forward line midfield for Petracca?
I would use it game situation. If it's working forward, you keep him there. If they need
starting forward.
Yeah. If you need an injection in the midfield.
You'd have the defences worried, wouldn't you?
Of course you would. He's a match winner. And that's
more
probably
than the
what
midfield being worried, I reckon.
Yeah, he's a match winner. And if he's not getting a kick or you need to inject him, you do what you've done with other stars. You go and put them up around the footy. And you can mix and match a little bit. But I think he needs to spend more time forward.
My only concern is on the weekend, it was because he was getting tagged.
Yep.
I would love for him to still have and he hasn't shown this in especially the first part of this season. When he gets sat on, there isn't enough output around the midfield. So it's a forced move to then go forward. I still think if he can at times go forward, and if that's the matchup, if he is being well held, but then you need to come back and have impact because his 5 or 10 extra touches around the stoppage, around the half-back line, moving the ball forward and having score involvements that way, I think would be of greater benefit to the side than him actually kicking the 5 goals himself. I know it probably sounds a little bit silly if you're breaking it down on raw numbers, but I think for impact-wise, I think that'd be the best way.
Yep. And it can't be lost, the loss of Angus Brayshaw. I know we just talked about it before from a concussion perspective, but to lose a class midfielder in that context, the way they did, not able to emerge from last year's final series because of the concussion decision that was made on his life, and then to go into this next season, they've got a problem, as we know, in the forward line. They've now got one less class midfielder to
Who were they going after
operate for
as a forward? Have they... There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of speculation as to what they're going to do going forward is to go and get a big banana.
That's it, because that's an easy conversation. You tell me which team has gone and got one. It's easier said than done to throw out.
Tom Lynch is one, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a
That's
name.
a while ago now.
Yeah. I mean, you can keep throwing out, go and get a gun key forward. They don't fall out of trees. Do they?
Well, no.
Well, they've got
Otherwise, Melbourne would be under a tree.
they've got a game against West Coast. We'll get your predictions for round 10 soon. But up next, it's Fair Dinkum or Fugazi and Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub.
Now on the Midweek Rub, it's Fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a...
Daisy Thomas, no team has deserved a mulligan for a bad night more than Fremantle.
Yeah, that is 100% fair dinkum. Shocking circumstances. We all know about what happened throughout the week, and you could see how it clearly affected the players in paying tribute on game day. It's heart-wrenching stuff when you lose a mate, and then the reflection piece with how much of a friend he would have been at the football club, people still dealing with him closely post-football. Absolutely. If you're going to try and write Fremantle off on that night, you've got rocks in your head.
Joey, Ben Mackay has been the recruit of the year so far.
Close. I'm trying to think of who else. Give me some other names. Probably, I think fair income. Yeah, he's been enormous.
I'm going to throw one in though. Brody Grundy.
Brody Grundy, just as good. Yeah, good one. No, but I like Ben Mackay. I was a big rap for him coming into the season. His form at North Melbourne in patches was as good as any key defender with his intercept marking. He's now playing in a strong team with some good support around him, and we're seeing the best of him.
Damo, you are the mouthpiece for the AFL. You're all over their website.
You are a
That is
mouthpiece.
not true.
Yes, there should be a Thursday night game every week.
Yeah, that's fair dinkum. I'm a massive convert over the last X amount of years. What's it been? 4 or 5, where it's really become part of our lives in a meaningful way. It's strange that it's not there for the contractual arrangements that are there for the round 16 and beyond. I will see it back next year when this new whiz-bang broadcasting rights kick in, when Foxtel's got greater say, and 7 will want more access, I believe, to Thursdays.
Does it bother you if they're not massive marquee matchups? Because that's the conversation
that's a
where we
good
can't
point.
put them all together. But if it's Sydney Gold Coast on a Thursday night, does it matter?
I'm
I'd
probably
still
not-
watch. I think most footy fans would still probably watch. But
It's a good question, Joey. I would watch it, yes, to answer
Yeah.
your question. Would I be as apprehensive and anticipating of it going into it? Maybe not. Yeah.
Daisy, Gold Coast have made Darwin a proper home away from home fortress.
Yeah, that's becoming fair dinkum. I really like the way they're embracing it up there. They're scoring really effectively as well. They've kicked 100 plus in 4 of their last 5 games up there since 2022. So, and the only one they didn't was on the weekend. So they've been and found a way to get up there and get it done, hitting the scoreboard. We know the conditions are tough at times, probably the most suited to what they deal with week in, week out up at the Gold Coast. But I really like what they're doing and how they've embraced it up there.
Damo, the ban for the Pies fan touching Harvey Johnston is heavy-handed.
That's Fugazi. I feel it's the right decision. I know that some people have different views, and if you want to express them on this show, as always, I'm welcome to them. But what I do like what the AFL's done, I'll go with the last 2 months. They're not walking past issues anymore, and they're actually allowing, I think, the decisions they make to be received without ambiguity. You know that you don't. And I understand there was I suppose, mitigation on what the Pies fan did, in that the Harvey Johnston came to him and it was all, fair in love and war in some people's eyes. But I just don't like the invasion of players' space, and I was more than comfortable with it.
I felt it was heavy-handed. There was nothing sinister or aggressive or anything. Like, if there's anything like that, absolutely. But when it was all in a bit of fun, bit of jest, like, the fans are human as well. We've got to not lose the human element of the game. I thought it was a bit too harsh. Absolutely.
The issue becomes, though, if it is anyway malice and someone feels they're open to reach over the fence at any stage, that's
So
why
it's
they're
preventing the malice
correct.
situation
Yeah,
from happening.
yeah,
Okay.
before it gets to it. It's
And if Harvey
proactive approach.
Johnston just lashed out and said, "What are you doing touching me?" without knowing how he was touched. So,
Yeah,
yeah, there's no ambiguity around it, so that's why I go
And the
with fair
last
dinkum.
thing
Black
we
and
want
white.
is fences. Bigger ones.
Joey, still Sidebottom's move behind the ball was inspired.
Yeah, I really like this. This is fair income. I'm going to do some vision tonight for for AFL 360. I think it's a win. I think a veteran, a few of us did it late in our careers. If you're a smart footballer and you know how to play, you can make it work at half-back. It's allowed Dacos and Crisp to become permanent inside mids, and it's made their midfield look so much more dynamic, considering there was questions about their speed with Mitchell and Pendlebury and Sidebottom through the midfield. That's changed. Sidey will make it a fist of it at half-back, and I think it can help them propel to another top 4 spot.
Will part of your vision tonight be encouraging him to take more kick-ins? Because he did not take one, and we all know
100%. We were surprised he did it.
100%. That's the easiest. You got to watch, mate. Send him vision of Nick Newman from Carlton.
They were
That bloke
Darcy
gets
Moore kicking.
always high speed running, head down towards goal as soon as it's a point.
100%.
Well, Damo, speaking of that man still Sidebottom, he is always got a smile on his face. Our man Dazzy Thomas always has a smile on his face. Didn't invite each other to their wedding, and this happened on the rush hour last week.
Did you enjoy playing football with Dale Thomas?
Who?
That's real. They don't like each other, Damo. Fair Dinkum or Fugazi?
That is fair dinkum. I have also been part of an interview with Steele last year as this news emerged that he wasn't there, and vice versa. So, no, I'm with you. It's fair dinkum. It's sad, actually, because I know how close they were when I first went down to Collingwood the year that you were drafted, Days, and you were just the year that Steele was drafted after you were there, and you took him under your wing. It's sad when these things happen.
I've heard it's caused a real rift amongst the 2010 Premiership team. They're all divided now. Are they on Steele's side? Are they on Daisy's side? I've heard it's all falling apart down there.
It is. It is all falling apart. We're not going to catch up. I'm just trying to ring him now. And what's he?
G'day, you've called Steele's phone. Leave your name and number, and I'll get back to you.
Rag me out on radio again, mate. I know where you live. So, look, that feud looks like it's probably gone to bed now.
Very good.
Daisy, Sam Darcy is giving Harley Reid something to think about in the Rising Star race.
I was just having a chat with you boys off air about this. This bloke will be one of the best big men in the competition, if not in the next 12 months, certainly next 24 months. Fingers crossed his body stays fit. Could not be more impressed. He's really learning his craft as a big man, his ability now to body and use his body. I love everything he's doing. Harley Reid's probably still in a different sphere in terms of the impact he's having on games and how good and ready-made he is for that midfield role. But the glimpses we see, and they're becoming more frequent from Sam Darcy, that is fair dinkum.
Damo, it was refreshing to see North knock the priority pick discussion on its head.
They need him, Damo.
Fugazi, because they weren't going to get one even if they did. They didn't deserve them last year, and I've got a strong view, Rabs, in. I think you've heard it probably for the last 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
No club should ever get a priority pick, so move on.
Question to you all. Clubs releasing their Indigenous Guernseys has become one of the great highlights of the footy season.
Yeah, love
Fair
it.
dinkum.
Yep, great. Absolutely.
Yeah,
love
fair
the
dinkum.
stories behind them, the stories of the artists that designed them, and it's a great weekend too to celebrate, so looking forward to it.
Joey, Geelong wouldn't have committed to resting Tom Hawkins if they knew Jeremy Cameron would cop delayed concussion.
No, Fugazi, the Cats have a plan. They know exactly what they're doing, and they'll stick to it, and I like the way they're going about it. They've got big picture in mind, not the week-to-week.
You know what the big picture is? It's the game's record.
Mm.
He equalled it, and now instead of breaking it in Darwin, he breaks it at home at GMHBA.
I didn't think that far ahead.
There you go.
There you go. That makes sense.
Speaking of the Cats,
Cash money.
Damo, Chris Scott avoiding a fine for his comments about the umpires on Friday night is the greatest escape act in footy history.
Another Fugazi from you, Rabsy. No, I think if you were prepared to listen to the entire part of the conference where Chris did speak about it, it goes for about roughly 5 minutes. I defy anyone to be angrily disagreeing with what he said about it. I thought he gave it a great context, and I didn't have one issue with it, and I don't think anyone else could either.
We're going to make sure that we allow these coaches to still talk about issues in the game in these press conferences, because at the moment, I mean, guys like Chris Scott, Ross Lyon, they're elder statesmen. They should be able to have their views, but at the moment, they're getting taken out of context, and we want them to keep doing it.
Damo, Adam Uze needs to confiscate all the ladders, mirrors and black cats at Punt Road to try and reverse their horrendous injury run.
That is fair dinkum, because he's also confiscated all the acknowledgements of past premiership success. So just keep removing stuff and just have a blank canvas to start again, because what he's got on record right now, 1-8 after 9 games, there's nothing's working, so try something different.
Forget the showdown, Daisy, or the derby. The best rivalry in footy is Scott Selwood versus the Sunday Rub.
It is the Collingwood midfield coach and one of the great men in football, Scotty Selwood. Hello, Scooter.
Thanks, Jay. I'm actually the forward line coach, but appreciate
Well, we told Jay
got
that
so
too,
close,
didn't we?
mate.
We told you off air, and then you
We
said
did.
on the website it said he was midfield.
Yeah.
I knew he was definitely forward coach. I said, yes, Jay, he's definitely midfield.
Oh, that's nice to know we've stuffed that up. But we were
No, you stuffed it up.
Not we.
true.
It's good to be back on, and it looks like Stevie's read his notes as to what day to arrive.
I just got here in time, Scooter.
He's our kryptonite. Yeah, that is feeding him. He's the real kryptonite. As soon as he comes on, weird things happen. And that's still that vision of Stevie J asking him about Harry Mackay. If I'm ever having a bad day, I just scroll through the Triple M Instagram and piss myself laughing for moments and moments on it. It's brilliant.
I'm not sure why Scotty keeps agreeing to come on the show. He just says no more.
What about Jay, though? He's like, it says the midfield coach on the website. We're like, no, he's forward coach.
Forward coach.
It says, oh, no, actually, yeah, he is. So we just threw him under the bus as well.
Well, whatever line he's coaching, the Pies play Adelaide on Saturday. We'll get your predictions for round 10 coming up next on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Don't forget you can catch every game live on Triple M and listener app of round 10, and it kicks off tomorrow night up in Darwin at Joey Montagna, Gold Coast versus Geelong.
You know what? I've just changed my mind just then.
that's not a
I was
good thing.
thinking the Cats and their professionalism. Then I thought, no. Gold Coast have won their last 5 in Darwin. They've acclimatised to the conditions because they've stayed up there. And I called the game last week. Everyone was out on their feet before 3/4 time, both teams. I think it'll affect the Cats. I think Gold Coast will be used to it. I think they can pull off an upset. I'm going to go the Gold Coast Suns.
Wow.
You called the game. What was the weather like up
It
there?
actually wasn't as bad as people thought. It wasn't as slippery or
Was
wet.
it-
It was actually not too bad.
Was it humid in the comp box or not too bad?
It was pretty sticky. Yeah, Damo, I had the sweats in the armpits.
I think the Cats get it done. And just as a side note, I'm going to have a look at Tyson Stengel to kick 5 goals. I think the Smalls get it done in the absence of the big boys.
Yeah, I'm going with the Cats too. I know they've got no forward line, a bit like Collingwood at the moment, but the 2 matches they've lost by 6 points to Port and by 8 points the previous week to Melbourne, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, so I don't think they're doing too much wrong, and I like what they're doing. I can't trust the Suns just yet in big games.
Huge game on Friday night. Sydney versus Carlton, Daisy Thomas.
The SCG is officially a fortress again.
And it's sold out.
It is, and rightfully so. The Swans the year before, they had 5.5 wins. 5 wins and a draw from their 11 matches up there. Not really the fortress. 4 from 4 this year. They're playing great football. The Blues, they've been good too, hard to knock, but their big boys don't get it done up there historically. Swans for me.
I love both these teams. I'm going to tip an upset Carlton.
Hard to tip against the Swans at the moment. They are flying, ticking every box. Home ground advantage, as Daisy said. I think they'll just win.
It's weird to say this, but what about that matchup between Grundy and Pitnet? That's going to be awesome to watch, I think.
Provided Pitnet comes through with the
is he out?
with the finger.
I don't think he'll play for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's embarrassing for me.
It would have been good.
Would have been awesome, yeah. Collingwood versus Adelaide, Damo.
Well, I just tipped an upset there, and this is going to be a bigger upset. I'm going for the Crows in this game. They're massive odds, and I just feel at some stage Collingwood's injuries will take a toll. I know they haven't lost since round 3, and I get that. And I get they're playing beautifully and they're seamlessly introducing first gamers as they have in the past fortnight. But the Crows, I keep doubting them. I keep wanting them to be okay. This is their moment. Crows.
Okay.
I was going to say, I couldn't be more in on the Pies. I've done some work on their profile.
No, their profile is humming. Go for it.
No. This is all your stats that I'm about to steal, but I agree. They're going great, and for reasons you can now tell.
Oh, their forward line, they're efficient. Their forward pressure.
They've got a forward line
really well. No, I know, but they're
That's
scoring.
the beauty of it.
That's the thing. They're all, you don't know who's going to kick the goals. Remember, these two teams played in 2 cracking games last year, particularly one at the MCG. Adelaide felt they were robbed when Jordan Dawson got clipped across the chops. So Adelaide obviously match up well and must have a good plan against Collingwood, but I can't go past the Pies at home.
GWS versus the Western Bulldogs, Joey Montana.
Giants win and Toby Green gets back into form, kicks 4+.
Belatedly?
I know, it's been a slow start to the year.
What's happened there?
I don't know.
Too selfless early on this season.
No.
Is he trying too hard?
He's trying too hard to be selfless and not putting himself in positions to get the ball and be the star that his side requires him to be. I think when
they do now after a couple of losses.
Correct.
And 3 in the past 4.
And I think this is a role that he's very aptly open to doing. Mate, you just go be the star. Don't worry about being the captain for a week.
GWS for me.
Joey, St Kilda desperately need a win. They face Fremantle on Saturday night. What would this week would have looked like with Ross inside the club?
Yeah, it sounds like from his press conference post-game, they're going to change up how they're going to play. He's just going to say, you know what, let's just go for it. And if we get opened up defensively or we make mistakes, who cares? But we're not going to keep playing this mundane style. So expect a more attacking St Kilda. Fremantle, if you didn't watch that game closely against City, you would think they played poorly. They actually played quite well. It was 20 shots to 14 at three-quarter time in favour of Fremantle, but they were down by 44 points. You could not have had a worse night in front of goal. I think they're going all right, the Dockers. I think they beat St Kilda. They're in better form, and that's my outsider for the round.
I'm going for a third outsider in a row here, Fremantle as well.
I agree with the other two.
Okay. Brisbane versus Richmond. Surely the Lions get the win they need here, Damo?
I believe so. They've had a really good fortnight. They drew last week, and prior to that, they won against the Gold Coast Suns. The draw was against Adelaide. In Adelaide, they're not doing too much wrong recently. I think they've finally got their mojo back, and for that reason, should handle Richmond quite easily.
I feel sorry for Adam Nuze because he hasn't had a fair run at it. What he's done and been able to do for the periods of time before last week and probably what's to come was actually serviceable, and the way that the team had bought into his plan. He just hasn't had enough talent on the list. I think they lose again, but rather unfortunate start to his coaching career.
Definitely hard to judge Adam Uze as a coach at the moment, so unfortunately, but they won't get close to Brizzy at home. They'll fill their boots, those forwards for the Brisbane Lions.
Essendon fans are up and about, and they play North Melbourne this weekend.
Third on the ladder after round 9. Third, Damo.
You
Third
still got
on the
doubts,
ladder.
have you?
No, I said if they won, I'd take them seriously. They will win this game. By how much, I am concerned, but they should just win.
Yeah. by a lot.
Yeah. No dramas.
Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn. Port were unbelievable against the Cats, Joey.
Yep, and they'll keep rolling. They'll beat Hawthorn, do it pretty comfortably.
Flat
I would
track
think
bully's
35
gone.
points.
You said if they beat Geelong at Geelong, that you drop the tag.
I think so. You're right.
I agree.
Yep, absolutely. A bit like Essendon. You've got to get a scalp to get the credibility. They've got their scalp, and they are in this competition like 6 or 7 other teams.
I want to see it one more time with Port before I remove that title on them, but they'll beat Hawthorn, I believe.
And finally, West Coast versus Melbourne to round out round 10. Damo?
Melbourne quite convincingly for me.
Desperately need Yo and Waterman back in that team to be competitive, but no,
Will
can't
Yo
see them.
played, or was he still going to miss?
Not sure at this stage. As we time coded Damo, Wednesday
need to
at
time code it?
11:37 on a Wednesday. No, even if he does, they'll
Under
be
a
more
cloud.
competitive. But Melbourne will win.
Melbourne.
And Mark Pitnet, is he...
At this,
He
as we time
might
code
be
this,
wrong
he
as
was
well.
ruled out 4 days ago. As we time code this.
Well, you can catch every game live on Triple M and the Listener app, starting tomorrow night with the Gold Coast versus Geelong in Darwin. That's following the Thursday Rob with Jack Hever and Jay Clark, Isaac Smith and Kate McCarthy. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub.